Letters, letter names, and letter sounds. Teaching these things can be so tricky. I mean, they're such important skills that it can be intimidating trying to figure out which skills to teach and when to teach them.
Next step is to fold in the cheese.
What does that mean? What does fold in the cheese mean?
He folds it in.
I understand that, but how do you fold it? Do you fold it in half like a piece of paper and drop it in the pot, or what do you do?
So if you're wondering how to teach early literacy skills, then you're in luck, because in today's episode of Elevating Early Childhood, I'll be answering this question. So this was one of our submitted questions for one of our listeners and viewers. So I'm going to play it for you now.
Hello, I just want to say I love your videos and website. They are so helpful. I'm homeschooling my 5-year-old and have a question. I've been using your alphabet ideas and just doing alphabet recognition, playing with upper and lowercase letters, but I'm not teaching the letter names and sounds yet. When you're not teaching the letter sounds, how do you talk when playing games? So an example, you're playing the fly swat game. Do you show a picture of a letter and say, can you swat this letter? Or do you show the picture and say, can you swat the letter P? And then approximately how long are you playing with the alphabet letters before teaching the names and sounds of the letters? Thanks so much.
So first of all, thank you so much for listening and watching and for submitting a question. Flattery is my love language. But seriously though, this is an excellent question. And it's a question that many people, both teachers and homeschoolers alike, struggle with. Now, the short answer to this question is, I wrote an entire book on this topic. It's called Teach Smarter: Literacy Strategies for Early Childhood Teachers, and you can find it on Amazon. But it wouldn't be much of a podcast episode if we left it at that, now would it? So the first thing I think it's important to address is that learning the alphabet or any of the other literacy skills that go along with it, it's not a linear process. A lot of this literacy learning is taking place simultaneously, right? So think of this in relation to how a baby develops skills. So when a baby is just learning how to walk, they're also developing other skills at the same time, right? They're not just learning how to walk and nothing else. So take my husband's niece, for example. She's 12 months old and she's learning how to walk, but she's also learning how to talk at the same time. And she's learning how to feed herself too, right? The very same thing is true for early literacy skills. So if we go back to the example that the caller gave, the example was showing the child a letter and asking the child to find the same letter, right? Versus showing the child the letter P and asking the child to find the letter P. So there is no need to do both of these things separately. See, young children learn these things, in anything really, not just letters, from repeated exposure over time. So instead, you might choose to say, this is the letter P, and you're showing them a picture of the letter P. Can you find the letter P? That's one way to go about it. So if you really wanted to enrich this activity and take it a step further, you could say, this is the letter P. The P says P. Can you say P? Can you find the letter P? That's one way. Then you could extend it even further and have the child look in the mirror as they said the sound that the letter P makes, right? Because they're going to be watching their lips. So they would say the sound as they look in the mirror, P, so they can see what their lips are doing. And in the case of the letter P, you might invite them to put their hand slowly and not very close, but in front of their mouth so that they can feel the air being released when they say the letter P sound, P, right? So that is another way to do it. If this was the M sound or another sound that causes vibrations in the throat, right? If you put your fingers on your throat when you say the M sound, you can feel the vibrations. In the case of the P, it comes out in the front of the mouth. But what I do recommend for anybody, parents or teachers alike, is to check out the CDC's milestones for developmental skills, what children are typically able to do at a given age, right? So for 3-year-olds, they are still very much in the exploratory stage. They've only been on this planet for 36 months, and they're still trying to figure out how this whole speaking and language thing works. They don't need to be bombarded with repeated requests to produce letters on command. Just building on their exposure to letters at the age of 3 is plenty, and it's going to go a long way to laying a solid foundation. I like to think of a young child's brain like a garden, right? You don't just sprinkle a few seeds on some really dry earth and expect a really lush, gorgeous garden to grow, do you? Right? You're going to prepare the soil to receive the seeds. And then once you do that, then you're going to water the seeds, and you're going to pull the weeds, and you're going to do everything you can to help your garden thrive. So if we think of a 3-year-old as a garden, then we're just preparing the soil at this stage of the game. When they're 4, that's when we start to plant the seeds. So going back to the second part of the caller's question, where she asked approximately how long are you playing with letters before teaching the names and sounds, I don't think there's any need to separate those two things out. But again, if they're 3, I would just really just go more for the exposure and not focus as much on those sounds. That doesn't mean that they wouldn't be able to do it. It just means that there's no point in doing it, right? Because learning how to read, it's not a race. It's more about the journey and the experience along the way. We have to remember that children's brains aren't fully formed, right? And each year that they're older, each year that they grow, their brain develops more and more. And that garden, if we think of their brain as a garden, becomes more prepared to grow. So we can't really just start dumping every single thing in and expect them to absorb it all and absorb it in ways that are designed for more mature brains. So I guess my short answer to that is if your child is 3, keep on doing what you're doing. And if your child is 4, then try to do the enrichment exercises that I kind of outlined for you previously. But I really don't think that separating the two out is necessary, because even if your child is 3, you're just giving them some extra exposure to the sound. Really, my best advice for this caller and for any of you out there watching is to do nursery rhymes with your children. Do nursery rhymes all the time with your kids. That is actually going to prepare their brain more for learning how to read than the whole letter identification thing. So they need to become aware and exposed to the rhythm, the rhyme, and the way that our language works, right? The more they can hear all of this rich language that comes through the use of nursery rhymes, that's what their garden or their brain needs to be prepared to receive the seeds. So if you really want to look for the most high impact thing you can do as a parent or a teacher to really prepare children to become successful readers, we're going to focus on nursery rhymes, right? And there's lots of different ways you can do that. We have a nursery rhyme bundle for those of you that are interested. Of course, it's not necessary in the Pre-K Pages shop, and we'll put a link to that below this video as well. Or you can go to prekpages.com and search nursery rhyme bundle in there. But that is going to be one way to really prepare their brains to listen closely to all the sounds in the English language, so that when it comes time to isolate and manipulate all those sounds and language, they will have a really robust set of tools in their brain, so to speak, to pull from and to be able to do what we're asking them to. So I would only go towards the whole, this is the letter P, can you identify it? If indeed the child was really engaged and interested in all these other things, and I wanted to start extending things just a little bit, would be the only time I would really even go there, because they shouldn't even know that they're learning, right? So I hope that the caller got something that she can take away and use in her homeschool classroom. And I hope that you all that are out there listening or watching along with her also got some good information that you can take back and apply in your classrooms right away. Until next time, I'm Vanessa Levin, and you're listening to Elevating Early Childhood. Onward and upward. If you think these videos are valuable, you have got to come check out the Teaching Trailblazers program. Teaching Trailblazers is the place for teachers like you to get the professional development resources and support you need to thrive. It's where you can learn relevant, life-changing best practices with professional development created specifically around the challenges early childhood teachers face. It's where you can get access to a complete research-based pre-K curriculum that you can use either to supplement your existing curriculum or use on its own to get 100% of your students kindergarten ready by the end of the year. And it's where you can hang out and connect over all things early childhood with other teachers just like you and me. It's my favorite place on earth, and it will change your teacher life, I guarantee it. Come join us at teachingtrailblazers.com to get more information and apply today. That's teachingtrailblazers.com. I can't wait to see you there.